It's very, very important for the Pac-12 to have that synergy. You can't just be a really good football program and join the Pac-12. They're very, what's the term I want to use here? Pompous. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master of Football, back at it again. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. I know this one's coming out a little bit late, but just stick with me here, okay? If you want to be updated on all things EA college football, subscribe to this channel right now. I also do some videos on Madden, pro football, and college football. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, I am not the only person. There's a guy named John Kurtz that I really respect his channel. He covers Kansas State and the Big 12 exclusively, lots of college football and things like that. But he basically said, there is really nobody to believe at this point. I have no idea what's going on, and that's where we're at right now. So there's conflicting reports all over the place. At the end of this video, I want to answer one question. What do you think is going to happen to the Pac-12? Do you think that George Kliavkoff, the former Las Vegas executive, is going to be like Bob Bowlesby and have the shackles removed from him, have USC and UCLA bogging down any decisions removed from him to be able to go out there and make the league still active and go out there and poach other members from perhaps the Big 12 or perhaps the Mountain West or something like that? Or do you think he's just a lame duck, he's just going to roll over and die, and the Pac-12 will no longer exist? We will attempt to answer that question by the end of this video. Let's get into an article I saw really quickly with the latest on Pac-12 and their dissolution, their situation. Let's get going. So here we are from Dan Wetzel. Just yesterday on Wednesday, July 6th, every college football fan should be rooting for the Pac-12 survival. All right, I'm going to be 100% honest. I read this whole article, and it was basically a little bit of the situation and then a whole lot of, but my conference, man. I mean, hey, Dan Wetzel, I appreciate what you do because it takes a lot to write these, but basically what it goes breaks down the situation with the fact that USC, UCLA leave, and then it goes through, you know, it's a tough sell, it's a long sell, it may not work, it's worth rooting for, however. And basically he goes through like, oh, we should save the Pac-12, it's gonna be great. I'm watching TCU and SMU fight over an iron skillet, or Colorado State, Wyoming battle for a boot. It's fun as hell. Hugh Freeze coaching in a dentist chair. The Sooner schooner tipping over. Lane Kiffin. Basically what he's saying is he's going back to the tradition aspect of college football. We need to save college football. For that reason, the Pac-12 should exist. Now, what I think he's forgetting here is that the Pac-12 is, these conferences are always changing, okay? The Big East, there's lots and lots of things like that. Well, there are powers and they're not, they're this, they're that. Conferences come and go, but the teams that are at the top usually stay. Remember, Miami was independent, then they were a Big East team, and now they're an ACC team, and now they're trying to be an SEC team. These things change all the time. Just because it doesn't say Pac-12 on it doesn't mean it's going to be going away. But again here, it's all great, every last precious second of it, and that's worth rooting to be saved. Yeah, well, that again, it's not like Cal or Washington State's just going to cut their football program, okay? I don't like this perspective. But I want to make sure we can touch on this because the reports were out there that Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado were all meeting with the Big 12. But, however, pump the brakes on that. And again, here we are with Trojans, Wire.usatoday.com. Industry chatter cools off. Pac-12 school exits, reveals feisty George Kliavkoff. Now, remember here, from Matt Zemanek, you don't know, and this is the big issue. I've learned this more and more and more as I've gotten more involved with this channel. Who's leaking this report? Is it, somebody from the Pac-12 who's trying to show a display of, strength? Or is this, actually legitimately the case where George Kliavkoff is a really, really strong member here? But again, we go through this. John Kenzana and his Substack provides more juicy report of the Four Corners Quartet, otherwise known as the Arizona schools, Utah, and Colorado. These four Pac-12 schools have been rumored to meet with Big 12 representatives this week. Not so fast. And apparently, George Kliavkoff is going all out to develop a Pac-12 survival plan. Here's Kenzana. Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado were reported late last week to be leaning into a possible contingency escape to the Big 12 themselves, but I'm told by a high-ranking official at one of those universities to pump the brakes on that. There's no meeting on the books with us for the Big 12, the sources say, and George is kicking butt. I don't know if you can swear on YouTube, but he's doing well. And again, this came a report here from WVSportsNow.com out there in West Virginia. So it says the report Pac-12 schools meeting with Big 12 is blatantly false. Remember, and again, I always want to make sure we're clear about this, Who do you think is actually reporting this? Is it coming? Did the Big 12 leak that? Oh yeah, they're talking to us. Did the Pac-12 leak? No, we're not talking to them. We don't really know that. But we see from a tweet here from Josh Newman, high-level Utah source tells Salt Lake Tribune that report over the weekend of Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State meeting with Big 12 is blatantly false. Furthermore, Utah remains a strong alignment with Pac-12 leadership in league institutions tethered together, used to describe these situations. Sweet, you had, whatever, you know, that edit button needs to come, Elon, get on it. So I'm a big fan of the Boise State Broncos. I love my Boise State Broncos, but everybody says for years, oh, they should be in the Pac-12, they should be in the Pac-12. One thing you got to remember about the Pac-12 is that they are very, very high-level institutions there. They're extremely respected. I actually was checking the other day on what the top institutions in the world were. University of Washington is one of the top 10, and they're a public institution. They're public funding. The state of Washington, a little old Seattle, Washington, has one of the best universities in the world. That is a public institution. I have a friend who's going to medical school there. Yeah, your boy's insane, like 4.7 GPA or whatever the heck that is. But it's a very, very well-respected institution. So it's very important for them to sync that together. I actually read a report recently that Tony Altimore, who is one of the guys who was on the Sikkim 365 channel, he does a really good job of breaking this down. He was like, you know, realistically right now, one of the best additions for the Pac-12 is probably Rice, because Rice is a high-level institution, and they are high-level research, high-level school, and sports, whatever, you know, from there. But I basically say that to say that Boise State, again, they just got Tier 2 research institution status, but they don't have, you know, the other, you know, programs that have a medical school, things like that, that are holding them back. It's very, very important for the Pac-12 to have that synergy. You can't just be a really good football program and join the Pac-12. They're very, what's the term I want to use here? Pompous. So with that pomposity, whatever. With that, there's very few institutions they would actually look to add to their programs. Now, we're going to go ahead and see what's going on with them in terms of what they're looking for. And then what I think would be probably, again, I have two schools that I think would be invited. They would not be popular at all. They would be really popular with those two schools, but they would not be popular other than the fact they would be popular with the ADs as opposed to the fans on the field. So let's get into those, what's going on, and then what those schools are going to be. So what's happening right now is the Pac-12 accelerates negotiations for its media rights deal in the wake of UCLA and USC exits. So they're pushing up the negotiations. Remember that USC and UCLA are going to be joining in the 2024 season. So 2022, this next season, is going to be USC, UCLA, 2023, and then they're gone. So they're pushing up that negotiation for that TV rights deal. Now, why are they doing that right now? A lot of people might be saying, dude, you got to worry about your conference surviving. What I anticipate is going on at this point is I anticipate the fact that right now, the remaining Pac-12, the 10 schools of the Pac-10, of the Pac-12, what they're trying to do right now is they're trying to go to the TV networks. And because, again, we all think that it's the Pac-12 that did this, or it's Alabama, it's this and that. We got to remember here, okay? The number one, you know, string pullers in this situation is ESPN and Fox, okay? Fox says, we want this, we want that, we want this, we want that. SEC says, we want this, we want that. Excuse me. ESPN says to the SEC, we want Texas and Oklahoma, bring them in. Big Ten says, or the Fox says to the Big Ten, we want USC, UCLA, bring them in. So that's the guys, those are the people who are pulling the strings. So what's going on right now is the Pac-12 is going to market, and they're basically saying, hey, what would you want to add to our current 10 schools that would make it worthwhile for you? What would you want to do there? And again, they might go to multiple different people. So I know CBS has a bunch of money coming up and being available because, you know, they're losing the SEC. You know, they have a loose partnership, but going forward, it's going to be basically just the SEC. But with that, I basically want to make sure that we're clear about something. There's a couple things we have to talk about with the Pac-12. The Pac-12 really values its academic institutions. You want somebody reasonably close. They are talking about a possible ACC merger of some sort. Again, that would be a huge situation. I might even make my own video about that, because that would be, they would have to sever their grant of rights, the ACC would, and if they sever their grant of rights, then all those schools could leave, and then it would be hell in a handbasket, and the ACC would destroy itself. Unfortunately, the ACC's terrible deal is part of the reason why they're still around until 2036. I suspect, though, 2034 or 2033, we're going to start to hear a lot of announcements on teams leaving. But that is literally 10, 11, 12 years from now. So let's go into possible institutions I think they could add. And again, I don't love these, but remember, you have to have academics with some athletics. What would that look like for the Pac-12? So the first thing I do is I went over to the American Association of Universities. So we could come over here and we see the fact we have, you know, Utah, Oregon, Washington, Oregon, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, Stanford, and Cal Berkeley. So a lot of those schools are in there. So whoever gets added in needs to be a school that's similar in stature like that. And I know it is super, super unpopular. It does not move the needle at all in any way, shape, or form. But Kansas might, first of all, the Big Ten jumped over Kansas to go to get USC and UCLA, which means that the Big Ten is not looking at Kansas at all. But Kansas could be an addition to the Pac-12 because they are an AAU member. All of those ADs would like that a lot, and they have some market. I know basketball has some market there, but I mean, first of all, that'd be really cool to have Arizona and Kansas be a conference game, but that's an option. There's another option that's, it's less popular, but it's close. So I come up here, you see how it says former members, and it says Iowa State University. So Iowa State was a former member, just dropped in 2022. Again, that doesn't mean they just all of a sudden start sucking as a school, but they could be two that could be brought in as a pair. So you'd have your center of the country pair, you'd have your mountain pair, you'd have your Northwest pair, and you have your Bay Area pair, and then your Arizona pair. So that would be something they could do academic-wise. It does not move the needle at all. Iowa State's a solid program, but remember, the Pac-12 really, really cares about their academics syncing with their athletics. Another thing here is research institutions. So remember here, and again, this is the map of research institutions across the country. Kansas State fit there. Oklahoma State is tier 1 too as well. Texas Tech is tier 1 as well. So Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech could be a four-banger they could bring over, something like that. So what I think is I think the Pac-12, I don't know what they're going to do, honestly, at this point, because the Pac-12 is, they're very, what's the term I want to use here? Like I said, their pomposity. Dude, somebody find a way for me to pluralize that word, but I think that could be a possibility for them. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know, man. The Pac-12, again, remember, let's answer that question. I'm going to come off the camera real quick. The question is, do you think that George Kliavkoff is going to pull up Bob Bowlesby? Bob Bowlesby didn't do things for years, and everybody said, oh, this guy doesn't do anything. The Big 12 doesn't do anything. He loses Texas and Oklahoma, and all of a sudden he has the shackles of inaction removed from him, and he's able to make decisions without having two voices in the room ruining all the things that he says. Is he going to be like that, George Kliavkoff? Or is he literally just going to roll over and die, and he's just going to accept some sort of merger with the Big 12, or is he going to try and negotiate some conference championship with the ACC? Get in the comments right now. Let me know what you guys think. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I appreciate it. I will see you guys on Monday. I am out.